Very good evening. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. How many of you went into work this morning with a big smile on your faces, eh? The sun was shining, must have had a great weekend. And oh yes, we won. Not only did we win, we smashed them. I mean, come on, how much better could it have been? Our first home game of the new season, and we did it with aplomb. I'm going to talk about the game a little bit later on. I'm going to talk about a number of other things. But I can see I've got about 130 comments in the chat. So I think I better start off there and try and catch up. Otherwise, I'll end up being about 3/4 of an hour behind. So let's scroll all the way to the very, very top and say good evening to you. Anthony, how are you, mate? Thank you for joining. I hope you've had a good weekend. Paqueta wants to stay a hammer. See it in his face after he scored that penalty. He may not have a choice but to be a hammer after what's happened over the last week or so. Good evening to you, Montana. How are you? Palace game, first half, almost like ours yesterday. No burst of pace at all. What's the score there? And how's that bloke from North London doing? Good evening, Paul. Question. Even though we only had 25% possession play, what or whose form a West Ham or Chelsea perspective allowed to... even though we had 25% possession, what or whose form a West Ham or Chelsea perspective allowed to punch through their defence quite a few times, including the 3 goals. There's a question in there somewhere, and it's about possession. But yeah, doesn't matter about possession, does it? I keep saying it, and I guess when things are going well, if you're scoring goals with a bit of possession that you have, it's all very well. It's when things don't go so well. So I kind of get the gist there, Paul. Good evening to you, by the way. Let's see, who else have we got? So good evening to you, Graham. I hope you're well. Daniela. Match of the day were nice to us on Sunday. Some said nice things about our midfield, pushing Chelsea. Well, they did. They talked about the defensive display, the way that we were set up, and they were very complimentary. And they were very complimentary about Antonio as well in the role that he played, as part of that sort of setup. And they were. It was nice. It's not so much match of the day 2 that has a downer on us. It's the other one, match of the day 1, that doesn't like us. John, good evening to you. I think our midfield plays better so far without he who should not be named. What did I say to you at the end of last season and during this summer? I said when he's not going to be missed, and you all slagged me off. Oh, well, some of you did. Oh, how can you say that? We just avoided relegation last season. Without him, we're much weaker. Are we? I know it's early days, only 2 games, but 4 points out of 6 so far isn't too bad. Good evening, Dan. I hope you're well. I hope, absolutely fantastic result. John, we did not have a great performance yesterday, but that's the way we should play against the so-called Big 6, but not the smaller clubs. I agree with you. But that's how we're going to play all season. It is, unfortunately, and you know that, and it's horrible. Mark, good evening to you. Still buzzing after the Sunday's results, as you should be. Absolutely. Good evening to you, Joan. How are you? Daniela, I'm looking forward to seeing Match of the Day for once. Sounds good. Go watch it. Watch last night's Match of the Day too. It was very complimentary. Martin, good evening to you. Genuinely knew 100% that we will beat Chelsea. Thanks for the idea. That's all right. Well, it was a quick one. I hope you enjoyed. Glad you enjoyed it. Good evening, Ed. How are you? Good evening, Epic. We had a nice little battle, didn't we? About people's where the people are coming from on Twitter over the last day or 2. People telling me who's Greek and who's not. Fucking irony. We did beat Chelsea, but Moyes tried to protect the lead again, which resulted in us conceding. You're absolutely correct. Unfortunately, he kind of reverted to type. And the first half did feel an awful lot like the first half against the game at Bournemouth last week. As soon as we scored, why? But anyway, you can't defend the 1-goal lead so early. Foxes, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Steve, still, what's this about our new centre-back failing his medical? Come to that in a moment. You're going to have to wait for that. I'll go into a load of transfer stuff, what there is. Foxes, basically, we went to 10 men, and that suited Moyes, gave him free pass to shut up shop. And didn't we do well? Shutting up shop after we went down to 10. Debbie and Mark, good evening to you. What a win against Chelsea. I had my doubts when we went down to 10 men, but we fought hard. We absolutely did. I heard Konstantinos, that centre-back was supposed to sign, has failed his medical. Yes and no. He had a back. He already had a backache. And if you backache. And if you saw the show I did last week to talk about him, he's had an awful lot of injuries in the early part of his career, but he seems to have overcome them. But I don't think it's going to be too bad for him not to sign permanently. Good evening to you, Trudge. Chances of Sullivan plot to keep Paqueta. What to what the announcement from Betway? Well done, Betway. Well done, turning on your own. Look, they had to do it, I guess. So nothing we can do about it. No, I don't think Sullivan's got anything to do with it. Amaret, good evening to you. I hope you're well. See, everyone's happy. Everyone is happy. Who else have we got? Steve, how are you, mate? Sorry, I haven't responded to your email. I will do when I have a moment. I'll do it this week. Amaret, 4 points, 4 goals. Happy days. If somehow managed to beat our bogey team next week, I'm heading straight to the bookies for us to win the league. Of course, we've got Brighton next weekend, haven't we? Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. James, good evening to you. I hope you're well. And all the European champions. Robert, good evening to you. We will be here to midnight by the time Star gets through the chat and comments. No, I'm scurrying through it. I'm going to try and get through it as quickly as I can. Good evening, Irons Lady. How are you? The moaners are here. You think we lost to the Rent Boys? I haven't seen any moaning yet. Maybe I will. I don't know. I'm buzzing over our win and start to the season. Looking forward to mugging off the... Can't say that. Brighton next weekend. I hope so. We own one, don't we? Eddie, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Foxes. JWP, he looks a little bit light, but he can't half kick a ball. I don't know. He gets his foot in. He's not a brute of a player, is he? We've got Alvarez for that. But I quite enjoyed watching him play. Steve, Trudge, mate, 4 hours isn't a winger wasted out there. He is. That's true. I don't know what Trudge said, but you are correct. Is Rice waving his arms a lot? What's the score? I actually really want to know. I don't want to know, but I do want to know. And I hope they're losing or 0-0. Anyway, let's move on. Graham, obviously the result transcends the performance, but surely to God, we won't use those tactics in every game, as I don't think I could stand it. Be prepared. I think we will use those tactics in every game. Montana. Still, I told you before pre-season, we shall have a good season this year. Well, football is a tough watch, but I like the results and the team. This is it, isn't it, people? This is it. You know, I've said it a few times before, and other people have said it a few times before. You know, what is it we want? Do we want entertainment and lose? Or I don't want to see us play like that at every game. I've got to be honest. I won't lie. After the first half, when the first half finished, I thought, okay, we kind of got away with this. You know, they missed a penalty and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, you know, they were fast. They were nippy, Chelsea. I kind of praised them in my brief review of the game after the game on Sunday. I thought they were really good. I think Chelsea are going to turn into a really good team. I really do. I think once they sharpen their focus in the final third of the pitch, I think they're going to be dangerous to a lot of teams. But so for us, I think someone said it on the... one of my mates said it before we went to the game. It's a good time to play them whilst they're bedding in all their players, and he was right, you know. So, yeah, I think we might have to be prepared that we might have to see a lot of this football from West Ham for the whole season. John Trudge, after their penalty miss, their heads went down. That is true. Moyes was forced into playing deeper and more compact because of a Gerd's stupid decision to dive in when there was no need. We did play deeper after we scored, to be quite honest with you, John, but we played even deeper. I'm surprised we didn't have 10 players on the goal line. You know, you couldn't play any deeper than that, could you, really? Christopher, good evening to you, mate. Alvarez deservedly getting the plaudits for his cameo. Absolutely. He's going to do well for us. I did say you're not going to miss Declan when you see this boy play. Some solid tackles for his first game, and after limited pre-season by all accounts, he is going to be a beast, a fan special. I can see it now. I can see it. You know, easy to predict that, isn't it? Aaron, good evening to you. Sterling was quality. He was. I want that Sterling back when it comes to England. He looked back to his best. He looked fantastic. He really, really, you know, he did the business. Emerson, I think Emerson played really well. I enjoyed seeing Emerson play, but boy, oh boy, was he getting roasted for most of the game. Shaky, good evening to you. Ren's looked to take a Gerd back. Yeah, I read that, and I asked, and I was told, absolute tosh. Don't believe everything you hear, and don't believe, well, I always say it, don't believe everything you read and everything you hear. William, good evening to you. Ish. I'll come to it in a moment. Let me try and get through all these comments. Well, as many as I can. Here we go. John, good evening to you. The Greek fella, did he fail his medical? I'll get to it in a minute. Is this a long show? Never is, Wolf. usually about 2 hours, give or take. Andy, good evening to you. Fashionably ain't never late. I was a bit early tonight, at least 25 to. Juha, good evening to you. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Ralph. I hope you're well. We won. I know, mate. I know. Stranger things have happened. Garino, good evening to you. Massive, that is all. Ironclad, good evening to you, mate. Sterling's nothing but a... I think he actually played well, but yeah, anyway. Gerd didn't even crease Sterling's shirt and he went down. Good evening, Black Country. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Vinay. Paqueta may be cleared by the FA soon. That's my hunch. No evidence. Zero. Why don't we start with that? I haven't finished the comments, but why don't we start with that? Because is there anything to see here? Apparently, as I'm sure you've all heard today, the hearing that was meant to be held today with Paqueta and the FA was called off. It's been postponed for 3 weeks because his legal team said, sorry, FA, you want to accuse our player of doing this, that, and the other. Where's the evidence? They didn't bring... How could you not bring any evidence to a hearing? How could you not present anything to kick it off? I mean, I don't know how these things work, you know, but to actually turn up or whatever, or say, you know, we've got nothing to show you here, it's a bit odd, isn't it, really? Look, it's effing dodgy, let's be honest. Come on, people. Paqueta Islands, on the day of a particular game, created all these accounts, put bets on Paqueta getting a yellow card, and all of a sudden they all got rich. Come on, you know. It's well, they didn't all get rich, but you know, they made a few quid out of it. And look, if it's proven, let's not joke aside. If it's proven, it's going to be quite damning. And let's hope it isn't. Let's hope it isn't. Let's hope he gets away with this. It's great for us that the hearing has been held off for 3 weeks, because that means the transfer window shuts in just under 2 weeks. Man City are not going to come in for the player while this is hanging over his head, unless something can be sort of shown quite strongly over the next sort of week or so. It doesn't look like... It looks like Man City are moving on anyway. What, they've gone in for Doku? Apparently we are. No, we're not. We're not going in for Doku. We're not going in for several players. I mean, I like to be proved wrong, but it looks like they've sort of they're confirming their bid for Doku. I think that'll be it for Man City. They may not come back in for Lucas. Maybe, you know, maybe he's missed his opportunity now, and he may have to wait until this time next summer instead. But look, all great for us. But let's really, really hope that there really isn't anything in this, because if he is proven guilty, it's pretty damning. It's match fixing, you know, and that could be a long ban, as people have said on social media over the past week or so. It's a lot worse than what Ivan Toney has done, and it could be a much longer ban. So, but the fact that the FA have turned up with no evidence is a good start for us. So let's see what happens. But at this moment in time, it looks like he can just focus on his football. He was great at the weekend, to be quite honest with you. I thought he put, you know, for a player that, you know, was banking on a move to Man City, was then had all these accusations thrown at him, etc. Looked like it wasn't carrying the world on his shoulders. Well done to him, to be quite honest with you. And right, let's talk about Mavropanos, shall we? Because as you all read today, apparently he's failed his medical. Look, there are conflicting stories. Because I didn't even see the stories. I was quite busy today, and I didn't even see the stories. And I got a message saying, don't believe the stories about Mavropanos. It's the club have said it's all lies. So I don't know, to be honest with you. You know, the minute a story goes out there, true or not, it spreads like wildfire, doesn't it? One person picks it up, and then out it goes on Twitter, on social media, on Facebook, and all that sort of stuff. And before you know it, you know, something that may have been commented on, you know, is blown out of all proportion. I've been told he hasn't failed his medical. I've been told that the deal is still struck. You know, there's still a deal to happen. It could be. Look, I said it a moment ago. He had a bit of a bad back injury, a bit of a bad back. Probably not enough to fail this deal altogether. But I think it will happen. I think West Ham will go in. Apparently, the original deal was something like £17 million plus add-ons. They'll probably try and renegotiate that in some way, maybe a slightly lower fee with more add-ons, you know, if he plays enough games, etc., etc., if he doesn't get injured and all that stuff. But Mavropanos in his early career has had a lot of injuries. Like I said, I did a show last week to talk about him. He's had a lot of groin strains and all that sort of stuff. So it kind of doesn't totally surprise me that he may have failed part of his medical, but I don't think it's going to be enough for this not to go through. From what I understand, the deal's going to go through, and it's probably too late now to announce him tonight, but I kind of expect the announcement that he's a West Ham player to be made on Tuesday. Look, if it's not made tomorrow, start to worry. And then if you start to hear about links to other centre-backs, then there's a bigger problem. But as it stands right now, my understanding is that that deal's going to go through. So fingers crossed, we need a Greek in the team, don't we? Otherwise, we'll never win anything. Galispera to you. What timing? Galispera to you, Keith. I hope you're well. 10 men, we only need 10 men. Yeah, not all the time, mate. Mark, good evening to you. Stel, do you think we can beat one of the big five away from home this season? Moyes has never done this before. Yeah, we'll beat Brighton at the weekend. They're top, aren't they, at the moment? So does that count? We beat the top five if we beat them. Wolf, I'm very well, mate. Brighton will be a huge test. It will, actually. No joking aside, it will. I'll be stunned if we even pick up a point, but can't give up hope. Stranger things have happened, mate. Look. Last week, beginning of the season, we went to Bournemouth 1-1. The last season, we smashed them 4-0. Everyone was saying we're going to get absolutely thumped by Chelsea. We beat them at home 3-1. This is the beauty of football, isn't it? The beauty of football is you just don't know, do you? You just don't know what's going to happen. By the way, whilst I've got 300 odd people, 380 now, if you're new to the channel, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell notification to let you know when my next show is on. That would really help the channel. I'm trying to get to 4,000. Little old me trying to get to 4,000. 4,000 people mad enough to listen to what me rabbit in on. But seriously, do hit the like button. Do hit the subscribe button. It'll be fantastic if you do. Flemmer, good evening to you, mate. Paqueta is clean. F the investigation. Let's hope so, mate. Usual. Good evening to you. I hope you're well, mates. Vinay, JWP reminds me of Brooking a little bit. The passing, the movement. Nice shout, Vinay. Nice shout. Yeah. I like that. Good evening to you, Ray. How are you, mates? I hope you're well. Steve. All Sky banged on about today was Chelsea. Of course they did. Chelsea didn't do this. Chelsea didn't do that. I'm really glad. Someone mentioned it. I'm really glad that Match of the Day 2 actually gave us some credit. All right, it was credit about our defending, but it's still credit. So it made a nice change, to be quite honest with you. John. Match of the Day 2 all day long. Affect the big-eared Chris Salesman and Poison Dwarf that failed at Fulham. You tell him, John. I'm glad. It may have gained us 3 points, but I couldn't watch that every week like watching pay. It's going to be, mate, I said it last week. It's going to be boring. It's going to be boring football this season. But imagine if that gets us what? Another cup? Imagine if that gets us back into Europe. I mean, all right, it has to be better. It does. Let's not deny it. It has to be better. But stone me. Imagine what that might do for us going forward. Boy, we'll be bored shitless, but we might win another cup or something. Funky T, good evening to you. I hope this season starts. I hope this is the start of things to come. Confidence. Winning breeds confidence, doesn't it? And then maybe gives us a little bit of leeway in order to go out and attack a bit. Who knows? Bill, never would have expected that result. Exactly. Good evening to you, Philip. I hope you're well. Afternoon, after all the doom and gloom recently, what a massive... Exactly. It is a massive boost. Let's be honest. It was fantastic. It's a great day yesterday. Saw people you haven't seen all summer. The sun was out, a few drinks and going to the game and then that result. Good evening, Harrison. I hope you're well. Thoughts on Fornals leaving? It ain't gonna happen. I know he's in his last year of his contract, but we need more players than we're gonna, getting rid of. We've already got rid of quite a few, so I don't think it'll happen. But I'd like to see West Ham make a commitment to Fornals. He's been a fantastic, loyal servant to the club. So hopefully they can do something and get that contract sorted out. George, good evening to you. Great show. Thank you very much. Only been on 10 minutes, but thank you. First timer, welcome, mate. Hit that bloody like button and the subscribe button, but you're very welcome. All the way from Aberdeenshire. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Good evening to you, Terence. How are you? Shit football, but great result. That's about it, isn't it, really? It really was. Good morning from New Zealand. I hope you're well. From Aberdeenshire to New Zealand. Look at that. Jim, Paqueta should be captain. he spurs the side on with his energy. Yeah, I get that. I like Zuma being captain, to be quite honest with you. I thought he was quite like, he took to it, didn't he? Quite a leader at the back there. Quite liked it. Hammer it. The game had just had everything, yet it sure did. Penalties, sendings off, dodgy yellow cards here and there. A real good atmosphere at the ground. Everyone buzzing before the game. Great to be back. It absolutely was. Montana. Can you imagine Sky was saying Souček encroached on Czech? Fuck them. I'm done with their commentary. Because they can't stand it, can they? They want it to be the top six and all this crap. Good evening to you, Trent. How are you? To be honest, Chelsea would beat most teams this season. And they did. Let's look. Once they get their shit sorted out, I got on Chelsea, mate, and I messaged him after the game. I said, you should have beaten us. I think, well, certainly in the first half, etc. And he went, no, we're rubbish. Final third, we're absolute rubbish. And I think the final third, once they get their final third sorted out, they're going to be quite a formidable team, I reckon. Moisaurus, good evening to you. I'm thinking of starting the channel Moisaurus Voice to give the Mois view on issues. Can I come on as a guest? Garino, once we scored the second, you could see the belief grow in the team. They played with a bit of swagger, determination, and desire. Absolutely agree. Good evening, Crafty Dave. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. John, Lama. It was just weird. I asked, what's the name? I've forgotten his name. It was just weird. Someone going on about he was born here and he was born there, and I know, oh mate, shut the fuck up. Andy, good evening to you. Ralph, will I get shouted down in here tonight if I stick by Moyes out here? No, absolutely not. You won't get shouted down. You're welcome to as I always say, everyone's welcome to their opinion and may not agree with it, but that's the good thing about this show. Garino, Dino Konstantinos gets back muscle spasms. German journo posted that info some time ago, so no idea what is happening as he only trained lightly last 4 weeks. That is probably what the concern might be about. And maybe he hasn't passed it fully because of that, but I don't think it's going to be enough for him not to get a deal at West Ham. Good evening, West Ham Ian. How are you? Mavropanos will be announced tomorrow. He's already done all the media bits and bobs. Come on, has he? How do you know that, mate? You're going to have to message me and tell me how you know that. How's he done that? Yeah, I'm going to give you my email. I want to know. I want to know how you know that. Thank you for that, Ian. Where did that go? Where that comment? There we are. What else we got here? Garino. Kudos deal still in the balance due to agents wanting a fee. Yeah, you're jumping ahead. Let me finish the show. Let's get to that part of the show. Unbelievable greed if true. Well, you think about why did Brighton back out of a deal? They never back out of a deal. Aaron, did you hear them singing Champions of Europe? You never sing that. The boys, well, they are, aren't they? Dumb. Vina, Areola is the undisputed number one. About time. Fab has he's had a long innings. He's 45. Listen, been saying it. Look, I'm glad Areola's got his opportunity now, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to let us down. And I've always said, give him a run in the team and see what happens. Who else we got? Greenwood, I did cheekily put a comment. I mean, it was cheeky. I put a tweet up. I don't do Twitter much, but I've kind of got into it. Well, I haven't got into it. I kind of go in there every now and again. And I think, what do I do with this? So I put Greenwood, like a question mark. Would we? Probably would, wouldn't we? They're 1-0 up, are they? Fuck's sake. Douglas, good evening to you. Thank you for joining. Please don't tell me that bloke scored. Arsenal down to 29. Ashley, Betway are bad bookmakers. They restrict your betting after a short while, and lots of people chasing to get their refunds back from them. Ditch them. We got to ditch all these gambling companies anyway. Just fucking find another bloody sponsor. It can't be that hard, surely. Garino, Paqueta meeting with the FA postponed till September, as they have not sent the player club any info on the alleged. Yeah, done that one. John, what are City playing at? Who do they think they are? Bidding for one of our targets. Doku, yeah. Of course he's one of our targets. Yeah, apparently we're in for Lukaku. Did you not read that today? I looked at it and I went, oh, really? I mean, seriously? Never know. You never know. Eamon, good evening to you. West Ham started to play so deep that the government are thinking of employing the team Bill, Chelsea's biggest error was pushing back three up to the high. Never had the legs for Antonio. Yeah, Antonio, my word, he did well. He did well. I've been slating him for a long time, but, you know, credit where credit's due. He did well. Neil, Alvarez looks like an organizer and leader on the pitch. I'm looking forward to him smashing some shins this season. Bradley, good to see you yesterday, mate. I hope you're well. Hope to see you again soon. Who else we got? Ashley, good evening to you. There are lots of people with the names Paqueta in Brazil. So much for Betway. Yeah, not on Paqueta Island, where he comes from. That's the thing, mate. Come on. The clue's in the name. Good evening, Lightel. Sideways Rice. Lucky we sold him. Hope he does shit there. Jeff, yes, mate. Emerson was roasting 9% of the match, but nicked a pen. He did. I know. You know, I mean, I've got to give Emerson credit where credit's due. I didn't think he'd be much good at a left back, but fair play to him. I think he's grown as a decent player for West Ham, but we do need something different, you know, every now and again. Greswell was on the bench after all this hoo-ha during the summer that he may or may not go, and he was on the bench at the weekend, which was good to see. David, good evening to you. Quality that the hearing called off after the transfer window closes. Paqueta just found out how much he's loved at West Ham. I think he knows it now. He played up to it, didn't he, when he did all that, when he scored the goal, all that raw. Come on, mate. You know what you're doing. John, the FA would be better off putting their efforts into investigating some very dodgy VAR decisions. It's back again, isn't it? We were told it was going to improve, and clubs and teams are already suffering from really, really bad VAR decisions already. Neil, thought Souček had a good game. He did. Battled hard, didn't delay by arguing with the ref. He just got on with it. Yeah, you know, he had an up and down game. I'll get to that in a moment. Flemmer, the betting companies are sucking the blood out of us. What if someone tries to fuck them over too? Well, Paqueta Island did a really good job on there, didn't they? I should stop. Ironclad, when Paqueta laid on the ground for ages and the trainer finally came on, we joked that was his latest bet. Who would have had the trainer on first? You know, that could be true. Mavropanos failed a medical. It was done by Moyes, so he can go back in for Maguire. Fucking no. We're done with Maguire. That's over with. Good evening, Grumpy. How are you? Doubt he would have attended the game if he wasn't going to sign. Exactly. He was there. He'll sign. He will. Just you know, let Sullivan nick a 500 grand off the price or something to keep him happy so we can actually get the player over the line. Moisaurus, the Americans have admitted aliens exist. I knew that before them. He has scouted a few alien players. Well, we're in alien territory. We're in starting territory. I said that last week in a show. I think we've exhausted all the targets that Moyes wanted, and now it's like, right, why don't we get a few of our targets in? Steiden says. Huge. Good evening to you, mate. Great day yesterday. We need to sign Kudish. We need some younger pace. We'll be gutted if we don't get him. I will be too. Trent. En-Nesyri would be a good signing as well. I don't know. I was once really, really into En-Nesyri. And then I saw him play against us in the Europa League. And I thought, what's so special about him? He had a lull. He did have a lull, let's be honest. And he's gotten back into a bit of form as well. But these stories keep coming back over and over and over again. I don't know whether to believe it or not anymore, to be quite honest with you. Right, how far away am I? Not far. So let me catch up so I can go into the next part of the show. Let's see. Hammerit. Agerd was the absolute nuts before the second yellow. He won't be in the squad against Brighton. So will we see Kera or Oki? Well, Kera was missing. And there's talk about he had an injury, but I don't know much more information. Hopefully it's nothing too serious, but he wasn't even on the bench, I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he was on the bench, so he might be missing for the game. So I think it will be Ogbonna. I don't think certainly won't be signing or certainly won't be seeing Mavropanos line up there. Maybe not even on the bench for Mavropanos either. When it comes to the Brighton game. Nigel, good evening to you. En-Nesyri played for Seville tonight. He had an all-day hangover today. There you go. See, I'm not so sure anymore about En-Nesyri. I'd rather we go for other players. Vinay, I think Moisaurus ball could help with the Europa League, but we need Lingard as the unpredictable element. Lingard can be an annoying version of Yarmolenko. I won't disagree with you, mate. You know, I hated the thought of Lingard coming back. And then when I got rid of the emotional side of it and went, you know what? Give him a basic salary. Tell him he'll be on massive bonuses if he scores goals and plays half an hour or whatever it may be, and it might just work. A short-term contract. And if he does well, who's going to deny him a longer contract? If he does the business for us, I did say in last week's show, I think he's wasted 2 years, especially going to Nottingham Forest and being really poor, and Man United, I forgive him for that because it was the manager at the time that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the time said, I'm going to use him. This was after his loan spell at West Ham. He said, no, he's part of my plans. And that didn't materialise. So he lost a year there. But going to Nottingham Forest last season was just silly, really. GP, thank you. I really do. That's normal. I really do appreciate that. Thank you, mate. Good evening to you, James. I hope you're well. David Jason. Yesterday afternoon was brilliant. Could call about seeing stadium buddies again. Found myself shaking hands and giving hugs. Some people would not know a good afternoon if it slapped them on the bum. There you go. Jason, good evening to you. Morning from Yokohama. Good evening to you, mate. With another attacker and results will be more enjoyable to watch. Moyes is going to prove me wrong and prove me and us wrong again. What then? What if he does prove us all wrong again? It's like, I knew what I was doing. You just had to trust me. Would you give him another contract? Don't know. Ironclad. Best bit of the game was seeing that Chelsea fans being booted out the main stand near the bottom. Yeah, someone said there was something going on there. I mean, go to a game. Keep your bloody mouth shut if you're sitting in the away end, or what would there be the home end for the away fans. If you're stupid about it, you're going to get caught out. Andy, good evening to you, mates. Massive 3 points. If only our manager would let our players play an expressive game. Imagine the football we'd be watching, and we might have lost. Kara had a slight knock. I say thank you for that, Ian. Funky T signed 2 great players. Good result of the weekend. If this carries on, there's going to be a huge portion of humble pie to be eaten. Absolutely. Manj Barry, good evening to you. Always lovely beating Chelsea. I watched a YouTube video of West Ham versus Chelsea watch along reactions. Chelsea fans' entitlement factor has gone up 1,000-fold since they spent $1 billion. Mad, isn't it? Really, sort of spending all that money. It is mad. I think they'll get it right. They will get it right eventually, but this ain't a Chelsea show. Moisaurus Masterclass. Moisa, thank you very much for, what is that? SEK20, but whatever it is, much appreciated. Neil, nicely Pochettino with a face like a baby smacked us at the end. Good evening, Dream Villas. Haven't seen you for a while. Mavropanos is a big risk. Back injuries are notoriously difficult to fully heal, and other injuries can stem from that. Maybe that's why he was getting a lot of I'm thinking about something else. I don't know. For example, Winston Reid. Groin injuries wouldn't come from that, would it? No, it'd be hamstrings is what I'm thinking of. Maybe it could cause some hamstring injuries. Daniela, good evening to you. No issue with the Moyes out stuff, but can we have your replacement, please, so we can discuss it? Yeah, could do a show about that one day. George, hi everyone. Born in Aberdeenshire, I moved south. We're now back at home with family. Glad to have you here, George. Really appreciate it, mate. Really do. How far down am I? Aaron, imagine Greenwood signs for us. Scores the 90th minute winner against United and uppercuts Sully's new bills. I shouldn't even be laughing at that. You made me laugh at that, Aaron. That's not fair. You caught me out. Ian, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. We don't condone that sort of behaviour. It's epic that I was thinking of earlier. Paqueta isn't his real name. It's a nickname because he's from I know, but you try pronouncing his real name. I had trouble trying to pronounce the names that they've got. Good evening, Rupert. Good to see you yesterday, mate, until you went off with your real mates. I hope you're well. Got only one thing to say. Is Paul's pants dry yet? Yeah. You better ask Pash Beats if his pants are dry yet. Rupert turned up, said hello to us, and poured a double rum and coke over a mate's crotch. Well done, mate. Well, at least you went and bought him one as a replacement. Finally, you had to be told 7 times, but there you go. Anyway, hope you're well, Rupert. Hope you got back home well. E. Davis, I had a bad feeling that Moyes sees Alvarez as a Downs replacement. Hope I'm wrong. Well, he kind of is in a way. I think he's a much tougher Downs type player. He's a defensive midfielder. I don't think Downs has gone for good. Downs will have a decent season at Southampton and hopefully come back to compete for that spot at West Ham. Ralph, well, if you're from Paqueta Islands, you would probably bet on him getting a yellow every game. Well, yeah. It's an odd one, though, isn't it, mate? It is. But anyway, let's hope it's all sort of dust blown away. Garina, I would expect there are a few Paquetas on Paqueta Islands, but the Isle of Man is actually full of sheep. Go figure. I'm trying to figure it out. Good evening to you, Howard. Tactically, Moyes, Spank, Poch, and billion pounders. Origi has his own fan club, the Origi Army, but when you point out his drawbacks to them, they tend to fold. Origi, I don't know. I mean, we talked about Origi, 3 years ago? He still hasn't turned up. I thought he was off to bloody Monaco or somewhere like that. I thought they signed him up, but seems not. I don't know. I don't believe the Origi story. We've had so many opportunities to sign him, even as a freebie, and we still haven't. I don't believe that particular story at all. Chewbacca, how are you? What are the odds that Pac-Man will be charged with this betting scandal? Well, they've got to bring the evidence. I think they will try and charge him. It's going to a hearing, so I think they will have. They're going to have very, very solid evidence. Funky T, Paqueta isn't scared of getting his foot in. He's a forward and not great at tackles. So yellow card in a game is inevitable. I put a tenner on him getting a yellow next game. It was the nature of if you look back at the yellow card against Aston Villa last season, it was the nature of it. It was a little bit odd. James, even Paqueta has had a bet that Mavro will be a hammer tomorrow. Good evening, Hammerite. I just want to see real pace on the next player in. We'll change our attack if it stays on counter-attacking. I agree. I do. I think Antonio needs an alternative, needs competition. I know he doesn't like it. I know he threw his toys out the pram last season when Scamacca turned up. But we do need something different there. And we absolutely, you're spot on. We do need pace. George, I think there was a great bit of spirit and heart shown by us in the second half. I totally agree. Good evening to you, Joe. Who did you say will be signing? That was at the game. Mavropanos. He was at the game. And we will be signing him once we sorted out his back injury. Keith, good evening to you. Still, Chelsea betting in players. They didn't do it. They didn't do it all last season. So perhaps it's going to be the same this year. Don't know. Could be. I saw a lot of Chelsea that made me think they look like they're going to be a decent team. How long it's going to take them, I don't know. Ironclad. MB, who lives near the ground, left north at 11:30, changed trains at Norwich, avoiding Millwall, Norwich, travelled home on packed train, one working toilet, 3 blocks, home at 10:50. That's dedication for you. Good evening to you, Brian. Sometimes Moyes ball just works a treat. Suck Chelsea dry, then punish them. Loved it. Chris Simpson. En-Nesyri is too lightweight up front. Kind of agree. Would be useless in a low block formation. We need a bulldozer up front to hold up play if you're a counter-attacking team. That's why Origi may be a good fit. There was a time that I thought Origi would be a good fit. That's when he was still at Liverpool. It didn't materialise. I just think, when a player is being spoken about so many times, like I said, it's been at least 3 seasons. I mean, En-Nesyri, Origi, several other players. We keep hearing over transfer window after transfer window. These are the players we're going in for. And then nothing materializes. And you kind of get bored with it. And you think it's never going to happen. 8. Lingard, number 2. Hugo Ekitike on loan from PSG over En-Nesyri for me. Kudus, yes. But see us walking away from that one. I hope I'm wrong. Something's going on there, and it sounds like it's a little bit more than just trying to negotiate a fee. Apparently we're at £3 to £5 million in difference between what Ajax want and what we're offering. Look, we did a deal for Alvarez with Ajax, so I reckon the relationship is good. It sounds like there's a little bit more going on. Like I said earlier in the show, if a team like Brighton are going to walk away from a deal like that, you've got to ask yourself what's going on. And what we're hearing is there's an awful lot to do with agents who want a little bit more and a little bit more. And people go, oh, yeah, just sign him. Just sign him. Pay the other 3 or 5 million. But then that 3 or 5 million for the fee, then it's another couple of million for an agent, and then it's another 100 million, then it's another 100,000, then another 50,000, then this, then that. And before you know it, you might end up paying another 7, 8, 9 million more than you kind of agreed. So there's something going on there, and it might not just be the fee itself. Andy, definitely not still. That's got his lot for us. No extension for Moyes. I thought you wouldn't be a fan. Good evening, DAS. I hope you're well. The win covered up Moyes' sub issue again. Didn't bring on Alvarez when Chelsea had a goal kick. Minute later, a Gerd flies into the space. Alvarez would have been in and picks up the second yellow. You know what? It's interesting because Moyes was going to make changes, wasn't he? And then right at that, you're absolutely right. That he had to change. He had to change his plans, but he was going to bring on subs quite early, which was a bit weird. Charlie. I heard that West Ham are in pole position, signed Lukaku. I've already mentioned that. I've poo-pooed that. I'll be very, very... What's he on? What salary is he on? He's got to be on something like 250, 300 grand a week, give or take. I mean, that alone will stop us from being able to sign a player like Lukaku. 30 years of age. The Italian, Chelsea don't want him. Apparently, a deal's been agreed with Juventus. But so I don't know what's happening there. Apparently, everything has been sorted. So I don't really know what's going on there. No, I don't know about. He'll score us goals, yeah. But I don't know. I'm not so sure he's the type of player we want. Hammerite said it earlier on. We want a lot of pace. Lukaku, 30 years old. I don't know. Jonathan. Good evening to you, mates. Let's not get carried. Absolutely not. It's only 2 games so far. We will finish mid-table, probably. Nothing more unless we get Kudus and Doku, but not lose. But not if we lose Paqueta. I don't think Paqueta's going now. I think, with this thing hanging over him, with the betting scandal going on, and given that that's been delayed, I don't think he's going anywhere. With regards to Doku, forget about that. Man City have put in a bid. What are we going to do? Compete with Man City? Are we serious? There's no way. Kudus is the one that we're holding out for us, but as I mentioned just a moment ago, we just got to sort out what's going on in the background, and I've got a feeling it's agents playing silly buggers. Ironclad Medical didn't stop us paying 700,000 for Disco Gordon. That was a different time, different place, different era. Good evening to you, Leon. How are you? Thank you for joining, mates. A few more new recruits, and it's the beginning of a new era. We will only get 2 more players in. Let's be realistic. And I said this a few weeks ago that I was told we were only going to get a defender and a forward. Not a striker. Didn't say a striker. I said a forward. Could be a striker, but more likely to be an attacking midfielder that can play up front, etc. Hence the Kudus deal. I think that'll be it. I think that doesn't matter who else leaves at this moment. Doesn't look like Creswell's going anymore. I don't know. That might still change. There's still another just under 2 weeks to go. Antonio, after what he did yesterday, Moyes won't want to let him go. But we do need an alternative, don't we, to change it up in at the top third of the park. Bill, Lucas Tolentino Coelho de Lima. That's not too bad. Lucas Tolentino Coelho de Lima. Trying to put that on the back of a shirt. You spend a lot of money doing it. Good evening, Lee. How are you, mates? Hit the like button. Thank you very much. It will do indeed. It will help with the channel. Hit the like button, hit the bell notification, hit the subscribe button as well. But in the meantime, stick the blue flag up your anyway. We are massive. Thank you, mate. I hope you're well. SEK is Swedish krona for 2. Mate, I appreciate it, Keith. Thank you so much. Good evening, Brian. Oh, no, I said good evening to you already. Fretting from New Hampshire. Why are you fretting? Good evening, Ian. It's West Ham, of course. They will push for a ban. Well, they've got to have the evidence, haven't they? They've got to have the evidence. Brian, do you think our midfield could actually become better after losing Rice? I said it, and people mocked me. Not many people on here, but people did mock me. They went, I said it earlier in the show. They went, how do you think we're going to be better without Rice? We just avoided relegation. I'm telling you now, Alvarez is going to be a dynamite footballer for us. Wait and see. Suchik plays better. He did. JWP better at set pieces than Rice. I think it's a bit of blessing in disguise to lose him. Glad you said it. GP. In contrast to Bolton's defensive style, West Ham's cup run was characterised by fast-moving, attacking play, which won them many admirers. This is why Moyes is like Marmite. We just need that attacking play now, don't we? We need that. If we're going to play deep and we're going to play, defensive, etc., fine. But give us an outlet. People talked about Lingard when he was here with us. That season, we had an outlet, didn't we? Antonio can do it. I mean, he did well on Sunday, but we need that outlet, don't we? We need something different every now and again to have to hit other teams on the break with that counter-attacking pace. Garino, did we misplace the deep heat? Geez, those modern footballers will fail a medical for any reason. How far down am I? Mangi, being set piece United means teams will be reticent to tackle our players. our attackers near to their area or kick it out for a corner, meaning there'll be more attacking opportunities possibly. I think that's what we're going for. I think that's what that's going to be the game, isn't it? It's going to be the season. Sean, Rice disappeared up his own arse and the dinosaur massaged his ego. Messed up Souček, who struggled to recover form, altered our style to suit someone who already changed his international loyalty. You see, I said it, and when I said about Declan Rice wanted to play whatever game he wanted to play, it's going to ruin our midfield. If you stick him in central defensive midfield and say that's your spot, we would have been all right. And because he wanted to be Mr. Big Bollocks and be the box-to-box midfielder, fair play to him. He wants to improve as a player. I get that. I've got nothing wrong with that. But it was almost an experiment on West Ham United, which didn't work. It disrupted the whole midfield. Alvarez is going to be, you've seen it. He's going to be dynamite. He's going to be the sort of player that we need in the center of the central midfield. That's just going to hold his nerve. He's going to be just in front of the back four. He ain't going to move much. He's going to sweep up in that area in order to allow the other midfielders, the attacking midfielders, etc., to do their business. That's what we need. That's what we've been missing for the last couple of seasons. And that would be far more solid for us in the middle of the park. James, after yesterday's performance from Antonio, do we still use him as a squad player? Does he leave this window? I'm still not trusting of him to keep those performances going. This is the problem. He's got to keep that up all season. He's fresh at the moment, a lot fresher than I thought he'd be. Fair play to him. But he's fresh at the moment, and he's halfway through the season. When winter comes, everything becomes a slog. You need an alternative. Does he go? I was convinced he was going to go. There's still a week and a half left in the transfer window, so you never know. Mr. Mace, how are you? I haven't seen you for a while. People getting too carried away with this Chelsea result. Same style of play that's infuriated people for 18 months. They just didn't finish their dominance. Other teams will. I don't disagree, which is why we're all saying that, you can't hold out. You can't hold on to a 1-0 lead. If you go in the lead after 10 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever, you've got to find a way of being able to counter-attack or give them something to worry about. Yesterday, it worked for us. But I agree with you, Mr. Mace. I don't think it's going to happen all the time. Good evening to you, Clive. I hope you're well, mates. I hope you had a good weekend. Andy, Kudus didn't play in 2 games for Ajax before Paqueta deal with City collapsed. Then he played at the weekend, 4 game for Ajax with an assist. Could this still be off then? You would think so. And I just genuinely don't know, because I keep being told one thing and then being told something conflicting the next moment. We were told at the weekend that, or last week, Steiden was over in Amsterdam trying to sort the deal out. Was he? Because he was with bloody Mavropanos at the stadium at the weekend and probably was sorting that deal out. Maybe now that the Mavropanos deal is almost done, maybe he can go back to what's going to happen, whether we're going to go for Kudus or not. Wolf, don't worry about transfers. We can't expect to sign every single player we're in for and then blame the board. The trouble is, Wolf, is that we're probably not in for a lot of the players that we've been rumoured to be in for. That's the problem. That's why people get upset, because people do believe everything. Oh, look, Lukaku and this player, En-Nesyri. Oh, we're going to sign 3 strikers and we're going to sign another 4 midfielders and another 2 right backs and all this. Trouble is, there's a lot of stories out there that are just not even, I've said this before, agents, when an agent wants to push a player, if he wants to start a bidding war for a player, he'll go knocking on doors and going, did you know so-and-so's available? I can get him for you. Nice little, conversation to be had, etc. And then all of a sudden, these rumours start to become fact. And then the ITKs come in and go, oh, we're in for this and we're in for that. And then you see all the ITKs backtracking. No disrespect. I don't mean this on X. He's a decent bloke. But in general, the Romanos of this world, etc. We're in for this, we're in for that. And all of a sudden, if you question them, they go quiet. And then they come out with another story. And then it's all twisted, isn't it? Oh, that fell through because of this. And that fell through because of that. I don't know what to believe anymore. Manch, if you like and subscribe still, we'll send you a free fondant fancy in an envelope, sellotape. So I'll do that. Montana, Rice already slowing down Arsenal's game, yet Sky praising him. They're in for a shocker. Who else? Christ, people, I've hardly started the show. I've only done a little bit of the show so far. I've got to get onto the best bit yet. Hang on, got to get into my script. Jeff, Souček gets better with the more he plays forward. I hope Fornal stays here. He's an unsung hero. I totally agree with that. Papa Firth, good evening to you. Evening. What's your thoughts on Benny? Quiet at the beginning of this season, to be quite honest with you. He hasn't really shown much. He didn't do much against Bournemouth in the first game of the season. Wanted a bit more of him, I think. Thought he was very disappointing again and would like to get someone rapid on the left. Alvarez is a beast. Declan who? Exactly. Yeah, I agree. He's been a bit quiet. I don't know what's going on there because he's a starter, isn't he now? But you're absolutely right. We get in another player that can play on the wing, and then Benny might be looking over his shoulder. Who else we got? So, Stu, good evening to you. Green Elites, no different gravy, mate. Thank you for joining, Stu. James, I'm worried if we go for Oggy and Zuma in the next match. Too slow, will get turned easily against a very fast, a very clever Brighton team. It could be, I don't know. Oggy, he's a stalwart, isn't he, Oggy? When we all thought his career was over with that bad injury, he's come back and proved us all wrong. Will it be a bit slow? Well, I think then maybe you might see something different in the middle of the park. You might, Moyes might decide to make up for it by sticking Alvarez in there to try and sort of help cover that with the back two. Garino. Stel Steinem was in Holland to renegotiate the Kudus deal as Paqueta to Man City fell through. So we did not have the money to meet the original payment structure we had agreed. We have got the money. We've got loads of money. This is the problem, Garino. This is why everything is so conflicting. Let's not forget who we've sold so far. We sold. I'm going to take off for. I'm going to not include the add-ons, just the fee. £100 million for Declan Rice, 22 million for Scamacca. That's 122, plus another 9 million for Vlasic. All right, Lanzini went on a free. So that's 131 million pounds. We've only spent, forget the add-ons, we've only spent 62 million so far. So we've got 69 million pounds burning a hole in our pockets. Now, I know it doesn't work that way, and I know West Ham have paid off a few of their loans and all that sort of stuff. But in essence, when it comes to financial fair play and all that sort of stuff, we can spend another 70 million pounds in the transfer market and not be worried about it. And that means the board owners wouldn't have dipped their hands in their pockets either, because that'll be money that's come in or been promised for the sales this season. So we've got 70 million pounds. The Kudus deal, whether it's 35 or 45 or whatever, we can still afford that. We can still afford Mavropanos at 17 million, and we've still got money left over. So, this renegotiating, I don't know. I'm not sure. And it isn't relying on Paqueta going, because if we sold Paqueta on top of the 70 million we've got left, that's another 80 million on top, give or take. Another 100, that'd be 150 million in total. So I don't know what's going on there. Plus, people are saying, oh, well, if Paqueta goes, then Kudus comes in. They're not the same player. Kudus plays attacking midfield. He plays up front. He can play attacking central mid. Paqueta is more a sort of what? More sort of a slightly deeper midfielder. He can go forward, but they're different players. So I don't really, I kind of questioned that when that came up on Twitter last week. What's it got to do with the Paqueta deal? I didn't quite get it. I didn't quite understand why one was reliant on the other. We got the money, different players, different positions. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Dean. Hi, Stel. If or when we sign Lingard, when? Will that be the one attacker coming in? Do you think we might look for others? I think that would be the bonus, to be honest with you, if you want to call Lingard a bonus. I think we are trying to get another attacking player in. I think Lingard will be the additional, the plus one. But will it surprise me if he becomes the alternative attacking player? No, it wouldn't. 8 Barley. If the window ends with 4 new players in total, then I think we're light on the ambition to significantly reinvest the Rice Scamacca money. 5 in would be on par for me. I did say at the beginning of the transfer window, do not be surprised if we don't get the same number of players in as we do going out. So far, you could argue. If you're talking about senior players, I've mentioned them already. Scamacca, Lanzini, Vlasic, and that bloke that's gone to North London. So that's 4 so far, isn't it? If we lose any more players, then now I agree with you. But if we only get 4 in, I think Moyes will be all right with that. And I talked last week about, getting players that he's got to be a bit clever with the players that he gets in. So say, for example, Kudus, if we do get Kudus, he can play out wide. He can play in attacking midfield. He can play both flanks, by the way, and he can play as a striker. So you've got a player that you can sort of rotate. You know, if you want to put Bowen up front and put Kudush out on the right, or if you want to take Benny off and put Kudush there and Bowen up, whatever, you know, he can do that. Got to be a bit clever with some of the players that we're getting. Anthos, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Let's try to sign Kudush and another, just not a defender, not just Lingard and not Lingard. Well, unfortunately, it will be 2 more, and it may be 3 with Lingard. You know, so I'm not seeing any more than 2. One of them is going to be Mavropanos if we get through the current issue, and I'm expecting that, as I said, I expect that to go through tomorrow. If the Mavropanos deal doesn't go through, you know there's a bigger problem happening. Yes, I did say I have a script. Otherwise, how would I remember all this stuff? Good grief. Peter, when will he play Cornet, Soufal, Souček, Antonio, squad players only? Alvarez must play with JWP. It'd be interesting to see Alvarez, JWP, and Paqueta in the middle of the park, wouldn't it? That could be great. Not a lot of pace, but it could be great. But Alvarez is a beast. I think you'll see Cornet. I think you won't see Cornet till probably the cup games, to be quite honest with you. I hope, maybe I might be wrong, but I can't see him playing anything else but cup games. Ironclad, Benny is full of intent, but couldn't hit a cow's ass with a banjo. Jonathan, again, have a beer or a rum on me. Thank you. Honestly, really, I really do appreciate that. Would you take Mason Greenwood? Well, I said earlier in the show, I did put a joke on Twitter with his face and like saying something, whatever comment I made. Well, I wouldn't put it past West Ham United. It's me, Sam. Good evening to you. Is the rumour true that new defending failing is medical? No, I mentioned it earlier. There's a hitch, but I don't think it's bad enough for that deal not to go through. I think it will be okay. Clive. To be fair, 4 incoming players is a reasonable return for the season. Too many players incoming would make us as great as Chelsea. We know what that means. Trust the mic. Mace, Mr. Mace. Mason Greenwood might be an odious prick, but he's in a sport with zero morality. Look who owns City and Newcastle. There's a lot worse than him in football. You know? Yeah. Good point. Very good point. Garino, Stel, Ajax want a large chunk of money up front for Kudosh. If we pay it, we won't be able to get other players in like Mavropanos, a new left back. We also paid back a 55 million loan. Well, that 55 million loan, we can go into it anytime we want. We can pull money out. I didn't know that, but so thank you for updating me on that. That 55 million loan, we can go and withdraw money from that anytime we want. That's there for another couple of years. So we do, I get what you're saying now. I get what you're saying, but we do have the money there. We do have the money available to get a couple of more players in. Papa. I don't want Lingard. Still piss me. Still piss he didn't join us before. However, if he signs, I'll support him and could prove to be a great signing to come off the bench. This is it. He could actually turn into a bit of a match winner for us. Peter, the pace of Chelsea was frightening. We have too many slow players. Soufal, Souček, Benrahma is a technical player, but slow to play out wide. I agree. Kudush is versatile. Exactly. He can play in the middle of the park. He can play up front. He can play out wide. Good evening to you, Lord Patrick. Sorry I'm late. Can we have a recap, please? Far too late. You know, I've actually hardly started the show. I'm just doing all everyone's comments. John. Lord Patrick still had a row with some fella over a Greek bloke and then got his mate doused in rum. Other than that, no news apart from Paqueta. Debbie and Mark. End of the 23-24 season. West Ham announced David Moyes leaves his role after his contract expires. The next day announced Big Sam returns. Fucking hell. Good evening to you, Omawale. Cornet needs to play. He's Premier League proven. He was Burnley striker for a period of time. He will get game time, but I don't think it'll be... won't see much of him in the league, to be honest with you. Right, what else have we got? Well, I'm going to go into your favourite bit now. I know you've all been waiting for this, and you've all been pissed off because I didn't bring it up any earlier. Of course, the women's team. Let me get rid of that comment. The women's team are back. You know, they beat Lewis at the weekend. It was a pre-season friendly, but they beat him 2-1. So well done. And they've signed another goalkeeper. Apart from having the Australian #1 goalkeeper who played in the World Cup, the Women's World Cup, we've signed Megan Walsh from, I don't know what team. she came from, but she's a Republic of Ireland international. So welcome to her. That's it. The women's bit's done. You can all breathe easy now. How about the under-21s? Well, after a shaky start to both the under-21s and the under-18s last week, where they both lost to respective Arsenal teams, they were back to winning form this weekend, which is really good. The under-21s cruised to a 2-0 win over Sunderland in Premier League 2. First home game of the season. It was quite a dominant display by the under-21s, and good to hear, by the way. It was emphatic dominance. Saw them coming out of the tracks pretty quickly. Got two goals in the first 17 minutes. So well done to them. Luzao, that was Luzao. Do you remember him? That we signed him to much fanfare. Our Brazilian centre-back last was it last summer? No, it was last winter that we signed him. Got one of the 2 goals. So well done to him. The under-18s were in action as well. And the under-18s played against Fulham. Another dominant display against Fulham. Kevin Keane's youthful side were rewarded within the first 10 minutes scoring a goal. And then they just rammed it in the second half. Rammed it in. Shouldn't have said that. And then they just beat them easy in the second half with a 3-0 win. So well done to them, to the under-18. So they're both off to a winning start. Just another bit of news in the academy. Kaelan Casey, our centre-back, who had a fantastic season last season, winning the double with the under-18s, winning the the under-18s league and also the Youth Cup. He signed a 4-year deal with West Ham United. He's been with the club since the age of 5, and many big things are expected of him. When you're given a 4-year deal at the age of 18, you've got to be pretty damn good. The next Declan Rice maybe to come out of West Ham United? Who knows? Right, what other bit of innocuous news? Well, Europa League is back, people, because you can start if you're a season ticket holder or a bond holder. As from Monday, you can buy your special package tickets, the 3 home games, for a bit cheaper than you would pay for them individually. So my one is band 3. My one's 90 quid for 3 games. So that saves me, I think there'll be about, for that band, it'll be 40 quid a game. So I'm saving 30 quid. All good, all good. You've got between Monday until the 4th of September to get your special price. So, bit of a short window, but you've got, what was that, 2 weeks, give or take, to get your home tickets. So if you're a season ticket holder or if you're a bond holder, get onto that from Monday. And how about the new kit? New Chelsea kit, new Millwall kit, new Everton kit, you name it. Does it look like a West Ham kit? Look, I don't mind it. It's better than the orange and white that we had last season as our 3rd kit. It's not too bad. I quite like it. Yeah, I'm all right with it. Apparently, West Ham United went around the world and promoted it. You had Nashville Hammers, Perth Hammers, various other Hammers from around the world promoting it. So well done. Right, what about the game? We talked about it a little bit before I go into the transfers. And let's talk about some specifics here. I'm not going to go into minute by minute of the game. I'm just going to go into some basics. First of all, Ward-Prowse, assured debut. Now we know why David Moyes wanted him. He's not just a set-piece master, but he was also absolutely fantastic, getting his foot in. I know someone said he's a bit lightweight a little bit earlier on, but I thought he had a really, really decent debut for West Ham United. I think he was fantastic, and 2 assists in the first game. He's going to pay back his £30 million fee pretty quickly, isn't he? He was pivotal. I think he was really, really decent. No pace, but I think he's going to be invaluable for us. He received a well-earned standing ovation when he went off, and he was sub for another new player, Edson Alvarez, and we kind of talked about him throughout the show with the comments, etc. He's going to become a fan favorite. There's no doubt about it. He's absolutely fantastic. I thought he came on and he was chomping at the bit to get on, wasn't he? He's going to be a machine in the middle of the park for us. I think he's just what we need. I think we've been missing that for the last couple of seasons where we haven't had a midfielder who just wants to sort of block everything. Keep the back 4 shape going so that he can protect them. Allow the other midfielders, the attacking players, to go forward. I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic for us. I'm really looking forward to seeing more and more of him. I think it was great. I think both new players had great debuts. Look, a lot's been said about the stats. Okay, let's not deny we only had 24% possession. It was low. And in some other teams, a team like Man City will probably wipe the floor with us. But it worked for us yesterday against Chelsea. But it's what I've always said. I don't like it. I don't like having such low possession, especially at home. I don't think it's good. I think it puts an awful lot of pressure on the team to defend. I don't think it's great. But it's what you do with that possession, isn't it? Look at the stats. Man United, Chelsea had 76% possession. They had 12 shots. 24% possession for West Ham. We had 12 shots. We had 6 on target to their 2. So it's what you do with it. And that's why it's really important, as people have been saying in the chat, is we need a bit of pace. We need something different up front in order to give us that attacking fluidity. We had that in the Lingard days, and if we can get someone like Kudus in, who's got a bit of pace, we can play the wings, etc. Ironically, Kudus is the most similar of all the transfer targets that we're linked to. Kudus is probably the most similar to Antonio that we're targeting, and so for me, it's no surprise that we're going for him. Look, the stats weren't good, and we will be pissed off with it as the season goes by. The more we give possession away, the more people are going to be frustrated. When we win, it's wonderful. When we lose, that's when people start getting upset. And I get it. Look, what else in the game? Well, Agerd, the first booking was soft. And when a player gets a really soft first booking, they're on tenterhooks from there on in. Look, he dived in. Wasn't great. It was, that was that was a yellow card, the second booking, without a doubt. But because he picked up a bit of a soft first booking, he should have known better. What else? In that game, I think you've got to say, and I have given him a lot of stick. I won't lie. Over the past season and a half, I've said he's finished. And then he goes and does this, Antonio, where he gets the ball one-on-one. He drags it a little bit out wide. And what a shot. What a goal. Look, will he do all that all season? No, I don't think he will. But when he's on that sort of form, he's fantastic. But it's been a long time coming, seeing Antonio doing that sort of thing. Long may it rain. I hope it stays. But let's see what happens. Look, after 2 performances, 4 points, you got to admit, that's not a bad start. It's not a bad start. Right, I'm going to have a little drink of water. So let's go into the transfers, shall we? Right, so let's talk about transfers. Right, people have been asking, blah blah blah. I must admit, I've become quite frustrated at the transfer window this season. I won't lie. Every time we hear of a new link, the minute you hear of a link, then you hear someone counteracting it and going, "No, we're not in for him." The number of times, you see a story come up and we're in for player X, and I go and ask, "Are we in for player X?" No, we're not interested. And then you see, we're doing a deal for player X and we're really close with player X. How many players have we been really close to signing this season and nothing's materialized? And how many players have we been told this is the key target for this summer? Player X is the key target. Hang on a minute, player Y is, or that player's the key target, or this player's the key. I've lost track. I've absolutely lost track. And then when I ask people, that meant to know better than me, I say, how close are we on this player? And they laugh and they go, never were, never will be, not interested in such and such a player. Then why is everyone talking about it? Well, that's the way things go. Like I said at the beginning of the show, you put a rumor out there, or an agent puts a rumor out there, goes to someone like, I don't know, like Romano or people like that, and goes, by the way, my player is going to, West Ham United are talking to my player. And so they put a story out in good faith and they go, West Ham United are interested in this player. And then before you know it, everyone's talking about it. And then everyone gets upset because we didn't sign the player. And then you realize months later, weeks later, days later, we were never in for the player in the first place. And this is what's happening. It's been happening far too often. And it's become really, really boring this summer. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. So anyway, who are we in for? Well, we know that Mavropanos was Steiden at the stadium at the weekend, watching West Ham United slaughter Chelsea with our 24% possession. And as you've all heard, at this moment in time, the negotiations are still going on. As someone said earlier on, he wouldn't be at the stadium if there wasn't a good chance of signing him. We just got to iron out what this issue is. He's taken his medical. I think there were negotiations about it. Someone mentioned about his back earlier on. I think it will happen. I don't think this will fall through. I think this will happen. So watch this space. However, as I said earlier on in the show, if you don't hear an announcement by tomorrow afternoon, then maybe it won't. But I think it's pretty much nailed on. Flynn Downs, he's finally taken moved to Southampton on a year's one season loan. I think he's going to do well there. He's going to go and rejoin his old Swansea boss, Russell Martin, who's now in charge of Southampton. I think he's going to do really, really well, and good luck to him. Now, that's the fifth departure, if you want to say departure in the senior team this season, or this summer, sorry. Rice, Scamacca, Vlasic, Lanzini, and Downs. Now, Rice, absolutely, we had to replace. Scamacca, we had to replace. Downs, yeah, okay, we had to replace. But when you think about Vlasic, who was out on loan, he wasn't a great miss, was he? So do we have to replace him? And then Lanzini, who didn't get a lot of game time, do we have to replace him? So you'd say there are three players that we absolutely have to replace, and there are two question marks. So when it comes to how many players come through the door, we've got two so far. We need 5 if you want to cover every single player, but 2 more will do. And as I said earlier on, we'll get 2 more in, which will be a defender, which will be an attacking player, and then the Lingard might be the 5th, the icing on the sort of cake. So let's see what happened. Would it surprise me if Jesse Lingard came back? Not really. It's reported that he's impressed David Moyes and the coaches. Well, of course he has. He's basically impressed David Moyes. And that's the only person he has to impress. So to try and get this short-term contract, he's got another week to go. He's got this week to continue impressing. I think he'll do it. I think West Ham United will look and see what they've got. Will it be, as someone asked earlier on, would it be a replacement to another attacking player? No, I don't think so. I think this will be our 5th signing, if you want. It'll be Mavropanos, hopefully Kudos, and then Lingard, and that'll be our lot. I'm not so sure that I don't mind. When you take the emotion out of it, like I said earlier on, when you take the emotion out of it, you see the logic. Can he go back to the form he had when he was with us? I don't know. He's had 2 wasted years, as I've said earlier on. It's a shame, really. Had he stayed with us, God knows where we'd be now. Anyway, and as I said, we're going to have 1 more forward signing now. En-Nesyri's back in the frame, along with Kudos. Now, apparently, we're going to go in for a bid for En-Nesyri for £35 million. If we don't seal a bid for Kudos. Kudos apparently Ajax wants something like 45 million. We're apparently at 41. I mean, come on. You know, something's got to be sorted out there. Do I think we're going to go in for En-Nesyri? I'm not so sure, you know. I'm not so sure that the En-Nesyri story holds water. And as people have been saying, he's probably a little bit like, he's probably another player that's more similar to Haller, the way Haller and the way Scamacca plays. He's certainly not the type of player that will play similar to Antonio. And we need an alternative to Antonio. We need a replacement for Antonio. Someone who can come on, give Antonio the rest. If Antonio is starting a game after 60 minutes, when he's blown out of his arse, 70 minutes or whatever, bringing a player on that can run the channels like that. Did you see Ings didn't come on? Well, mind you, we were a man down, so maybe that's not why. We need someone similar to Antonio that will be the alternative on the bench, or someone that's going to be fighting for that place, you know, to be competing with Antonio. So I don't think En-Nesyri would be the one. Now, there's another one, isn't there? We're back in yet again, apparently, for Hugo Ekitike of PSG. Again, I don't know, in all honesty. Moyes has had his fingers burnt with the likes of Scamacca. You know, all right, he didn't use him properly. We know that. But he's had his fingers burnt. Do you think, honestly, he's going to pay £35 million for a 21-year-old kid from PSG? I don't. Look, maybe, just maybe, a loan deal. Maybe. But how much game time will Ekitike get if he comes on loan? I don't know. Look, he was out on loan last season at Reims. He's kind of fallen away, really, hasn't he? Apparently, PSG just want him, want to get rid of him, want to sell him. £35 million is the rumoured value. But again, I just don't think, to be quite honest with you, he's the sort of player that David Moyes is going to want up front. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but I'd be very, very surprised. I think it's going to be Kudus. I think we've got to find a way of getting this deal over the line. He's a better fit for the system that Moyes wants. He's got that sort of build, that stature. I talked about him quite a lot last week before, about his frame. He's quite a, solid guy. He runs the channels. He'll play out wide. He'll play up front. He can play attacking midfield. He can play in a number of positions. He's a kind of the nearest thing out there at this moment in time who we're targeting that's anything like Antonio. And like I said at the beginning of the show, this wasn't for me about replacing Paqueta with Kudus. I didn't get that. I didn't understand that. You look where Paqueta plays. Yes, okay, he can be played further forward. I know that. I get that. But in general, you look at where Paqueta plays, they're different types of players, completely different types of players. This, for me, is an Antonio alternative, an Antonio replacement. Will Antonio go now? I don't know. I think we're so slow at getting players in that the longer it takes to get any players in, the less likely we're going to be looking at moving any players on. There is still the possibility, if there are any more players leaving West Ham United, I know there's been stories about Pablo Fornals, but that's been sort of lingering for, I think Real Betis were in for him. I can't remember which other Spanish club's in for him now, or maybe it's the same one. I don't know. But we're not going to let any more players go until we get more in, and at this moment in time, we're only targeting Mavropanos and probably Kudus. Do I believe the Ekitike story? I'm not so sure I do. Do I believe in the En-Nesyri story? I'm not so sure I do. Do I honestly think that we're going to go in for Lukaku? Absolutely bloody not, with the sort of money that he's probably on. So I think, it all comes back to Kudus. And like I said earlier on, it's not just about the fee that seems to be the issue. There's something going on with agents. Look, I talked about it, I don't know how long ago. There's a lot of changes happening with agents and agents' fees in October. And that change means that agents are not going to have a free-for-all anymore. They're not going to be able to demand these big bonuses, etc., for getting players over the line. They're going to have to be under a strict code of conduct. Agents will have to go and continue to do their training. Agents will have to prove that they've done it with all their certificates and all that sort of stuff. And agents will only get a percentage of a player's fee now. Whatever, if a player sold for 30 million, I can't remember what the percentage is, something like 6% or whatever it may be. So rather than going to clubs and going, I want £4 million to help you get this deal over the line, or 1 million or whatever it may be, they're going to be restricted. Their earnings are going to be sort of related to a percentage of the player's value. And so they will want their big, they want everything now, don't they? The agents want in. And this is what I keep hearing about the Kudus deal. It's not just about the £3 to £5 million difference between what Ajax think and what West Ham United think he's worth. There are agents going on in the background as well. So let's see what happens with that. But for me, at this moment in time, I don't think there's anyone else. We may start being linked to more players. En-Nesyri, Ekitike, Lukaku, etc., etc. I think it's going to be Mavropanos and Kudus. I think once we get those two over the line, then we'd be looking at potentially Lingard as the additional. Right, comments. How far behind am I? Not that far. Paul. Cornet not allowed to play until he learns the offside rule. Howard's King Arthur should be a new feature every week still. The King Arthur watch. It was bad enough talking about him when he played for us. Mr. Mace. Cornet must qualify for one of them raspberry blue badges. He'll be delighted because he can park anywhere. Neil, don't tell me still. Betty Lingard scored twice for the ladies. Betty Lingard. Oh. Is that the mother? Sister? What? Mate, I try to keep it as... Look, how long did I spend on the ladies thing? About a minute? Garino, just saw a tweet that we're looking to bring back Masuaku and loan as a left back cover if Creswell goes. Don't wind me up, mate. John, hang on a minute. We signed an Irish goalkeeper. Missed that. Oh, and she's dressed in green. A bit racist. Oh, wait. Why? What's that? Why is Fabs pissed off? They put him in a pink shirt. Yeah, the third kit, the goalie kit, is pink, isn't it? Looks all right, actually. Not for me, though. But Anthos, split me. Why this push for ladies' footy? It's even funnier than Lauren Hardy. I mean, things. Hey, I've been talking about ladies' football ever since I started the West Ham Weekly. You know, so I'm not jumping on. They're all jumping on my bandwagon talking about ladies' football. Wolf. Anthos, for some reason, everyone feels the need to fight for something nowadays. I know what you mean. People need to relax. What did Anthos say? I can't find your comment. What else we got? Are you not arguing? You're not arguing, are you? Are you arguing? Hammerette, fair enough. You sure I've got them in a bit. Okay, good. You're not arguing. Lord Patrick, been loving the ladies' game for years. You're all mad. There you go. Great cameo, Ronnie. Good evening. Who's done a great cameo? Thank you for joining, Mr. May. Socek has done. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about Socek. I forgot about that when I did the very brief. Socek had a bit of a weird game, didn't he? Because he gave away the penalty. He was sort of like hoodwinked when Chelsea scored their goal. Dummied, you know, pretty easily in the box. But then, other than that, he actually had a really decent game, didn't he? All in all, he had quite a not bad game. But then he's got those mistakes. He did give the ball away a bit as well, but he got into his own a bit later on in the second half of the game. Garino, love the block Alvarez puts in on Sterling. He saw the danger before any other player, tracked his run. That's why I think he's going to be fantastic for us. Good evening, Mojo. How are you? Would be nice to shake it up. 20% week in, week out. Far too predictable. Go for 35% and scare them. Possession, that is. Charles, we look better in the second half. Sterling was their best player, run us ragged. I agree. We did look better. Brian, do our fans realise that Ward-Prowse had the best running stats in the Premier League last season? Rice was third. He's definitely underrated. Will be a great addition. I totally agree. I don't have a problem with Ward-Prowse at all. Jeff, Wolf, nowhere near under 23 level. Check USA national sides. What did Wolf say? I don't know. Sorry. Andy, so far signed, and we've been linked to 150 plus ridiculous scattergun approach. Now, I talked about the scattergun. My theory on the scattergun was this. Moyes said, these are the targets I want. And I think the board have gone on then, David, off you go. You know, go and try and get him if you can. And one by one, when the targets couldn't be got, I think that's when Sullivan and Steiden came in, or Steiden or whatever came in and went, look, okay, we've exhausted these targets. What about these ones? So were they? Moyes had certain players as his number one targets. Maguire, without a shadow of a doubt, was number one. JWP, without a doubt, was his number one target. So he's got one of them. And I think we are onto now targets that Steiden is recommending. John, happy unfortunate. I don't think Antonio will change. Superb goal or over the stadium roof. You hit the nail on the head, haven't you? You know, he'll do that, and then the next time he'll scuff it or he'll boot it over the crossbar or whatever. I don't know, but this is the problem with Antonio, which is why we need an alternative. Liam, who is the other transfer close that isn't Dino Mavropanos? Kudish. GP. The other fan channel had 123 players linked. That's how crazy it is, and that's why I didn't do. I could have easily have done another 2 or 3 shows a week just talking about we're linked to so-and-so. It's boring. It absolutely is boring. If you want to watch it, that's great. You know, because you never know. One of those players maybe. What I've tried to do, I don't know if I've succeeded or not, but what I've tried to do is when I think that the story is pretty solid, I'll go, all right, I'll do a show on a player that we're linked to. But to actually talk about every single player. Aquamar, good evening to you, or Aquam, good evening to you. Possession doesn't win games. Goals wins games. However, it puts massive pressure on the team. We will concede goals. We will watch boring football. More importantly, teams will get it and had it. Yeah, this is what we said earlier in the show. You are absolutely right. You know, it's not about possession. It's what you do with it. But we do inviting all that pressure, inviting 70% odd possession at home. You know that excuse me, you know that sooner or later the team ain't gonna be able to get away with it all the time. We did on Sunday, and we looked decent, but it won't happen all the time. We won't look that good all the time. Sean, how many of these 123 links did Romano correctly predict? A trained monkey could have got a high percentage correct. You know, this is the thing. You know, I've got to try and respect the ITKs, but at the same time, this season they've really pissed me off this summer. They really have, because they'll say one thing and then 10 minutes later they'll contradict it with a completely different story. Manji, JWP is more than set pieces. He's full of running. He's always ready to thread a through ball. When he gets to the edge of the area in support and goes for goal, it's like a free kick without a wall. Good. Yeah, totally agree. Wolf, it's good for Downs and us. We need him to play as Moyes refuses to put him in the right position. Hopefully he can increase his value a little bit. Hopefully what I hope is that he comes back a little bit more confident next season, fighting for one of those first team places. Hammer it. Wonder if Lingard has been dropping off a few bottles of red at Moyes' door. You do know they live in the same building. I did tell you all that, didn't I? Liam in Canary Wharf. Liam, Lingard will be a decent Lanzini replacement, to be fair. Andy, Lingard is Moyes' prodigal son. Said that the other day. Trent, how much would Lukaku cost out of interest? I really honestly don't know. I know Chelsea just want rid of him. I don't think it's going to be that. Given that Juventus can afford him, it won't be that much. I don't know. I'm guessing, and don't quote me, but I'm guessing it'll be maybe £30 million, something like that. But it's his wages. It's his wages. That's the problem. Johnny Rick. Lingard is teaching Moyes how to moonwalk. Joan, yeah, Lingard will be back and a first team regular. Benny will be dropped. I don't think he'll become a first team regular. Because it depends on what David Moyes does. He's got a lot of midfielders to fill those places. He's going to have to find a way of finding roles for Paqueta, for Alvarez when he's fully match fit, for Ward-Prowse, for Souček. There's 4 midfielders. He might start playing a diamond, He might start playing a diamond and maybe 2 up front, where there may be a Lingard with Bowen, or Antonio with Bowen, or whatever, and then 4 at the back. I just wonder, there may be times where you may see a diamond formation. Souček on one end, Alvarez on the other, Paqueta and Ward-Prowse either side. Brennan Johnson, see, this is the thing, mate. Last week everyone was talking about Brennan Johnson, gone completely quiet. Completely quiet on that. So that's the sort of story that I mean. You hear it and then nothing. Aiden, much appreciated, mate. Have a good time. Well, if you can have a good time at work, have a good time at work. Andy, that Seville player didn't want to come to us. En-Nesyri, you're absolutely right. Over the past 2 summer windows, another one Moyes can't stop chasing. I don't think the room is true. I don't think we're in for him, to be quite honest with you. What else we got here? Dan. Lingard and En-Nesyri would make a massive difference. Lingard, yeah, I don't know about En-Nesyri. I think we got our focus is elsewhere. Jeff, just to bring things down, what do we do with Ings? Cup competitions, mate. Cup competitions. Bernie, how are you, mate? Transfer market drives me crazy. I just switch off. When we sign them, then I'm interested. Yeah, that's the way it should be. When you do shows like this, you kind of think of what content do I want to put out? How much of it is going to be listened to? And, because you can damage your reputation. If you keep talking about all these transfers, we're in for this, we're in for that, etc., it could damage you as much as trying to build a reputation on these shows. And that's why I've tried not to do a lot of transfer shows. Hammerette. Whoever we get in, the striker role is to be Moyes' pick. Otherwise, he won't get played. Good point. That's a really good point. Wolf, we will probably get Lingard, but we'll need one more attacker with this new centre-back. Then next summer, we need upgrades on left-back and right-back areas. Don't disagree. Don't disagree at all. Anthos, 4 blinking million. Let's have a whip round and get him for say. It's not just that, though. That's what I mean. It's not just about the 3 or 4 million for the player. It's all the other things that, like I said, about agent fees and another here and another there. And I'm not bleeding heart for Sullivan. He's got the money, but it's just like it gets to a point where a player where you think is worth 30 million, all of a sudden you're looking at paying nearer 40 million because of all these additional things that you've got to play. At pay, I mean, not play. HH, that's what worries me about Alvarez. Not a Moyes choice. Will he be given game time? And I think he will. I actually do think he will get given game time. I think he absolutely will. I think once he's back up to full match fitness, you'll see more of him. I'm surprised he came on at all on Sunday. So I think he will get game time. David, Lingard robbed Forest and mugs us off. Not for me. See, a lot of people saying that. A lot of people sort of understand. I understand that point of view. Daniela, Tottenham looking at Lukaku, a Kane replacement. Interesting. Hammeret, surprised me to see Alvarez yesterday, to be fair. Perhaps Moyes is changing his stance slightly. Neil, Lingard, at least Dick Turpin has the decency to wear a mask. So true. David, well, he'll be playing for us soon. Maybe he'll wear a mask on the pitch so he won't be recognised. David, Kudus is the new Fofana. Not happening. This is the fear. Fofana, another one. We're definitely in for him. All gone quiet. Jeff, Lingard needs to score second touch at least to win fans back. He'll need to score very fast, wouldn't he? Without a shadow of a doubt, in order for us to win him, to accept him again. Jonathan, I love to think it's great that the women's game exists and have backing, but I don't know why men need to make it viable. Where the women coming out to support their own? Where are the women coming out to support their own? Trent, Lingard pissed us all off, but I think we should use him. He could be useful. This is it. You take the emotion out of it, and you could see Lingard being quite useful for us. How far behind am I? Not bad. Fasingo, Souček needs to be benched for Alvarez. Too bad in a very important situation. It's a very important situation. You'd think that would be the obvious. Souček dropping out and then Alvarez coming in. I think Moyes will find a way to try and accommodate both of them. Sean, Souček orchestrates the positioning when out of possession. He's not just about giving the ball away. Yeah, good shout. Chris, good evening to you, mate. Selling Rice may be a blessing in disguise. The game doesn't revolve around Rice anymore. Players feel more free. Bang on. Said that earlier myself. Been saying that for some time. I totally agree with you. Old man, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. I think you're right, Chris. I really do. I think it's going to be a very different West Ham United. Not kind of looking for Rice to be that sort of that pivot, that pivotal point. We now have a number of leaders on the pitch rather than just that one. Howard, your numbers prove that the weekly show works. I love fellas, but thank you. I appreciate that, Howard. I don't get to see how many people I've got on, but I do appreciate whoever's watching. Ben, even the ITKs don't have a clue at the moment. Comments are so vague and open to change. Think it'd be a busy deadline day. It might be. We might be one of the teams still doing work on deadline day. That'll be the day that we're at Luton. Nasa, good evening to you. Hi, nice job. My question is Areola for OL and FB for EL. Areola for Olympic Lyonnais and FB for EL. You're gonna have to. I don't understand, so you're gonna have to write it all out. I'm sorry, mate. I'm shit at trying to understand that. Wolf, even the ITKs like Romano and Steinberg delete their tweets whenever they get something wrong. I've seen it several times. It fucks me off, but I'm reliant on these people. Well, I'm not going to cap in hand, go and tell me some news, but I'm looking at the stories and trying to bring as up-to-date news as possible. And I made an apology a couple of weeks ago because I was like, I'm sorry. It was the Carlos Borges. Remember him? That young player from Man City? I said it's nailed on. He's on his way. Where'd he go? He went to Ajax. Chewbacca. Do you think Moyes will have a midlife crisis and go all out flair? No. You never have a midlife crisis. Garino, don't go to bed. Better still, go to bed, get a good night of sleep, and don't worry about a thing. Exactly. Jonathan, they've been trying to get rid of En-Nesyri for the last two windows. Now hit a street again. They fished him out again. Yeah, it's not going to, he's not coming to West Ham. Daniela, Moyes will have to give players game time in Europa. It's a step up from the conference. Yeah, it will be. It will be. We'll see a few players like Cornet, etc. Jonathan, our best midfield is Alvarez, Jade Ward-Prowse and Paqueta all number 8s. John, you never told me the other day, who is the Barry Silkman player exclusive? See, that's why I shouldn't say anything to anyone behind closed doors. I can't tell you, mate. Manji, you bastard. Manji. Mavropanos has been spotted in Canary Wharf buying a deep heat and a cushion. Aaron, breaking news. Ex-employee said Lingard has turned down big offers as he wants to rejoin West Ham and has even cut down social media activity to prove his serious to West Ham. In other words, Lingard has got no other offers on the table. He's desperate to sign for West Ham. Otherwise, he'll be completely isolated out of football and he might end up going to have to play his football in a championship team. Fair? Jeff, definitely feel more comfortable watching West Ham post Declan. Not a disaster, and money spent wisely will improve us. We're still spending. Oh, I've done that one. We're still spending the money. Manji, that's not a bad beard. A beard should tickle your moves as you talk. Whose beard are you talking about? Oh, my facial photo. What are they saying about my facial photo? I haven't seen that. I haven't seen those. Guess what? I'm down to the bottom. I've only done an hour and a half. I feel guilty, but I am down to the bottom. So, oh, here we go. En-Nesyri again. Oh, let's put that up. Areola for Premier League. Oh, I got you. Thank you. Areola. Well, that's what's happening. You know, it's only taken David Moyes 2 seasons to finally give Areola the starting berth. So, yes, Moyes has more or less admitted that in his press conference last week, that it's going to be Areola for the Premier League and it's going to be Fabianski for Europa League. I think that's fine. You know, I really do. I think that's the right thing to do. We need to move forward. Areola will end up being a really good goalkeeper for us. I'm convinced of it. He just needs a run in the team, and I think it's great. That's it. I'm down at the bottom. Thank you all so much. Really much appreciated. I hope you don't feel cheated at only an hour and a half instead of the usual 2.5 hours. So I'll tell you what, let me do a recap. That'll give me another 15 minutes. So I'll go all the way to the back. There you are. Melissa's here. So I've got to do a recap. Jesse Lingard signed for West Ham. I think that's what's going to happen. Right. So very, very briefly, what did I start off with? Nothing to see here for Lucas. His meeting with the FA has been called off for 3 weeks, which means that by the time this is over, the transfer window will be shut. So I think he's with us for the rest of this season. The women's... God, where did I... Hang on a minute. Mavropanos, the deal is still on. Yes, there's a slight hitch with the medical that he's had, but I don't think it's going to be enough to actually see him miss out. I think that's going to happen as well. Talked about the women's team, and I know you don't care about that. The under-21s won, the under-18s won. Kaylin Casey, new 4-year deal. Go and get your tickets if you're a season ticket holder. They go on sale from Monday for the Europa League. It's back. Europa League is back, and your tickets, if you're a season ticket holder, will be sold at a special price from next week. Do you like the third kit? It's all right. Ward-Prowse, a sure debut without a shadow of a doubt. He was a decent player, and I love Alvarez already. I think he's going to become a fan favourite without a shadow of a doubt. Forget the stats. We know we didn't have much stats. Aguerd got sent off. Such a shame, but it looks like it'll be Oggy that'll come in to replace him. Antonio, the goal he scored was like watching the old Antonio. Can he keep it up? Mavropanos was there. Downs has gone to Southampton. Lingard is looking like he's going to sign for us. One of these forwards, I don't think it's En-Nesyri. I think we're going to try and get Kudosh over the line. I don't think it's going to be a Kitty K either. It's going to be Kudosh. That's it. That's your lot. Thank you all very much. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for your comments. I'll do a few shows. There are going to be other things coming up. So I'll do a few pre-recorded. And I'll put them out throughout the week. Thank you all for watching. Have a great week. We had a great weekend. Have a great week. The sun's out as well, which is even better. I love it when the sun's out. And then we're off to Brighton. And why not? Why not finally break that duck with Brighton? We've never beaten them in the Premier League. Maybe now's the time to do so. Have a great week. I'll see you all very soon. And yeah, subscribe, like, and hit and all those buttons and all that sort of stuff.